Welcome to the Inner Light Companion, a space to personalize your spiritual journey with the 12 sacred intimacies. I'm Tamara Ridge, your companion and guide. Each episode of this podcast explores a facet of connection with the divine, yourself, others, and the world, offering clear markers to recognize, gentle practices to try, and stories that help you grow what's strong and tend to what needs to grow. Move at your pace and use the name for the holy that fits your heart. This isn't therapy or advice. It's a meeting of souls, a place to listen deeply, ask real questions, and remember the wisdom already within you. I invite you now to take a breath. Let's begin. Before I dive into this episode, I want to be honest. Recording this episode made me feel more vulnerable than any episode I've shared so far. Naming how our bodies are taken, controlled, and reclaimed is personal, sacred, and sometimes really tender for me. If this brings up big feelings for you, just know that you're not alone. I've felt the same feelings, and it's normal. I'm here with you as we reclaim our bodies together. This is the third episode in the series to help you identify the abuses that happen in controlling churches so that you can know what to look at when you're ready to heal. This episode is about freedom over one's own body. Your body is not church property. I didn't understand that my body wasn't mine until years after I left the church. Not because there wasn't evidence, but because the theft of bodily autonomy was so normalized, so woven into doctrine and practice and expectation that I couldn't see it while I was living it. It wasn't until I started reclaiming my body with piercings and tattoos and clothing choices that I realized I'd spent decades treating my body like church property. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's start with the temple garments. That tells you at least that your body's surface and how much of it you show belongs to the church. From age 21, after my endowment, I wore those temple garments. That meant I couldn't wear clothing where the garment lines would show. Modest clothing became not just a choice, it was a covenant requirement. Now, I don't have shame about modesty, but what I do recognize now is my body's surface, what I wore, how much skin I showed, that belonged to the church, not to me. Next, piercings. I got my second piercings in my ear. It was Gordon B. Hinckley. He made the statement recommending that women wear only one modest pair of earrings in the year 2000. You have to understand that in 2000, that was 25 years ago. Gosh. Wow. Okay, so I was 34 years old. I'd been thinking about doing a second piercing in my ear for a really, really long time. And in this 2000 general conference in October, I had just gotten my second piercings. Then I went to general conference and I heard the prophet say that we should only have one pair of piercings in our ear. And I came home and took off the second piercing. Think about that. 34 years old, a man I'd never met, speaking from a pulpit. I was in California at the time. He was in Salt Lake City, Utah. Had more authority over my body than I did. And I complied immediately, without question. That's bodily control disguised as prophetic guidance. Let me talk a little bit too about the washings and anointings in the temple. I understand that the temple ceremonies have changed, and now it doesn't happen like this. But in 1987, when I went, before the endowment ceremony in the temple, they called it a washing and anointing ritual, where they used water and oil, and you stand there naked under a shawl while a stranger touches parts of your body that you would never let strangers touch otherwise. Not your sex organs, but intimate parts of your body, right? There's your head, your shoulders. They touched me across my breasts. They touched me below my belly button on my tummy, your loins, your legs. And you're taught that this is sacred, it's holy, necessary for your salvation. But what I know now is this: it was indoctrination, training you that your body does not belong to you, that access to your body can be granted by religious authority without your meaningful consent. Because you can't consent when refusal means you can't get to the celestial kingdom. When saying no means you can't be with your family forever. That's not consent. That's coercion. And I also want to talk about my fertility treatment experience, because I talked in the last episode about the primary indoctrination. They have another song that said, "When I grow up, I want to be a mother," right? I was trained that since the time I was very, very small. But that means that your body isn't yours. My first husband had never been able to have children in his previous marriages. So we went at his insistence to fertility treatments. That was the first time in my life that I really felt like my body wasn't mine. We had come home from our honeymoon, and I remember standing in the bathroom doing something in the mirror, and he came up behind me and said, "Now we just need to get you pregnant." It didn't feel like he married me for me. He married me so he could have kids. Like my body's purpose was reproduction. And when it didn't deliver, I certainly felt like a failure. Those kids didn't happen. And years later, I learned that it was because of my paralyzed diaphragm from that childhood truck accident when my dad ran me over. I probably wouldn't have survived pregnancy anyway. So I'm not sharing this to weaponize fertility treatment or medical intervention. I am naming this. The church's intense focus on motherhood as a woman's divine purpose made me feel like my body didn't belong to me. It belonged to the role I was supposed to fulfill. And when my body didn't do that, I felt like a failure because of the indoctrination. Next, there was that priest during my third marriage. Even after I'd been out of the Mormon church for about 8 years, I talked to a Catholic priest. I told him the details of the abusive behavior of my third husband, a man who had put himself out as spiritual, but behind closed door was very abusive. I revealed everything I had suffered, and it was humiliating. And at the end of all of that, the priest said I needed to return to that husband because, quote, God doesn't allow fourth marriages. The priest wanted me to go into a monastery. Think about that. What happens in a monastery but silence? The covenant mattered more than my safety, more than my body's need for protection, more than my autonomy. Religious leaders across denominations can prioritize institutional rules over your body well-being. Let me be clear about what bodily control looks like in the Mormon church, because much of it is disguised as modesty or covenant keeping or sacred ritual. So the first is dress codes and appearance standards that are presented as righteousness. Your temple garments controlling your clothing choices. And, you think about it too. Young men go on missions when they're as young as 19. So their indoctrination about their body not being theirs starts very young. I had prophetic declarations about piercing, controlling my body adornment. I removed it after the general conference. My body's surface belongs to the organization, not me. Sacred rituals involving non-consensual intimate touch, washing and anointing ceremonies where strangers touch your naked body under a shawl, was framed as too sacred to refuse. That's coercion, not consent. It trained me that religious authority had access to my body. And then there's reproductive pressure that was disguised as divine purpose when motherhood is presented as a woman's ultimate calling. Multiply and replenish the earth was a commandment, not a choice. And fertility struggles feel like spiritual or bodily failure. I believed that my body existed for reproduction so that I could have children, not for me, so I could build God's kingdom. And religious authority prioritizing covenant over bodily safety. Even after leaving the church, that Catholic priest told me to return to a third husband who was abusive. Think about that. Finally, I want to talk about exhaustion that is normalized through doctrine. Your body's need for rest is overridden by service. The Mormon Church has specific scriptures and prophetic teachings that train you to ignore your body's exhaustion signals. Here are a few of them. Be not weary in well-doing, for you are laying the foundation of a great work. Doctrine and Covenants 64, 33 through 34. Teach them to never be weary of good works, but to be meek and lowly of heart, for such shall find rest to their souls. Alma 37, 34. And there's often the teaching, many Mormons, one of the things I said when I left the church was, I am tired of living my life for the afterlife. And this reminds me of, don't get tired doing good work because you'll find rest, but not in this life, not if you stay Mormon. Here's another quote. The best antidote I know for worry is work. The best medicine for despair is service. The best cure for weariness, maybe you think he's going to say rest. No. Is the challenge of helping someone who is even more tired. That's Gordon B. Hinckley. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, and they shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Isaiah 40:31, quoted constantly in Mormon settings. I don't read anyone there take a nap. This isn't encouragement. This is bodily override theology. When your body says, I'm exhausted, the church says, serve more, work harder. Your weariness is a lack of faith. This creates chronic disconnection from your body's wisdom. You can't trust your fatigue. You can't honor your need for rest because rest feels like spiritual failure. And along with that comes the pressure to never say no to service opportunities. That becomes a moral imperative, and your body's symptoms of exhaustion are reframed as selfishness, laziness, or lack of devotion, whether someone else tells you that or you say it to yourself because of the environment you're in. How many callings did you hold simultaneously while exhausted? How many times did you say yes when your body screamed no? How many times did you feel guilty for being tired? This is bodily control disguised as righteousness. When your body doesn't belong to you, when it belongs to the church, to your husband, to your divine role as mother, to endless service, Here's what it costs. Disconnection from your body's wisdom. You stop listening to what your body is telling you because righteous authority overrides your instincts. You find yourself in a chronic nervous system threat. Your body learns it's not safe because you can't protect it. Others have more authority over it than you do. You end up with internalized shame for wanting autonomy. Wanting control over your own body feels selfish, unrighteous, unchristlike. And you lose the embodied presence. You can't be fully in your body when your body isn't fully yours. Makes me so sad, actually. After I left the church, I felt this underlying sense, this deep knowing that I needed to claim my body as my own. Not because I was angry, though I was. Not because I wanted to rebel, though that was part of it too. But because I needed to make visible statements of freedom and self-expression that were mine alone. So I got tattoos. Permanent marks on my body that I chose, that tell my story, that no prophet could tell me to remove, that declared, this body is mine. I got more piercings, not to violate some rule, but to reclaim the authority to adorn my body however I wanted. I wore what I wanted to wear, no garment lines dictating necklines, no modesty standards defined by men I'd never met. These weren't acts of rebellion. They were acts of reclamation. My body, its surface, its adornment, its expression belongs to me now. And let me tell you, the first time I looked in the mirror and saw my choices reflected back, not the church's, not my husband's, not the prophet's, I cried because I was finally home in my own skin. So how do we reclaim bodily autonomy after years of religious control? First, declare body sovereignty out loud. Stand in front of a mirror, put your hands on your body and say, this body is mine, not the church's, not anyone else's, mine. Feel that in your body. Let your nervous system hear it. Your body has been waiting for this permission. Second, listen to your body's no and act on it. If your body says, I don't want to be touched right now, honor that. If your body says, I don't want to wear that, don't wear it. If your body says this doesn't feel safe, believe it. If your body says, I'm exhausted, rest. Your body's wisdom was overridden for decades. Rebuild trust by honoring its voice. Third, make intentional choices about body marking or rituals of autonomy. Maybe it's a tattoo. Maybe it's a piercing. Maybe it's dyeing your hair a color you've always wanted. Maybe it's wearing clothing that makes you feel beautiful regardless of modesty standards. These aren't vanity. These are declarations. This body belongs to me. Fourth, practice embodied presence through movement, breath, or somatic practices. Yoga, dance, walking in nature, breath work, sensory experiences, anything that helps you feel your body as yours, not as object or property. You're not just reclaiming autonomy in theory, you're reclaiming lived experience in your own skin. 5th, grieve what was stolen. You can't reclaim what you haven't acknowledged was taken. Grieve the years your body wasn't yours. Grieve the intimate touch you couldn't refuse. Grieve the exhaustion you were taught to ignore. Grieve the choices that weren't really choices. Grief is how you metabolize the loss so you can fully occupy your body again. Here's what I know in my bones after 59 years of coming home to my body. Your body is the temple, not the building, not the garments, not the rituals designed by men. Your body. True spiritual intimacy requires embodied presence, and you cannot be embodied when your body does not belong to you. No one else is the authority over your body. Not prophets, not husbands, not bishops, not religious leaders making decisions about covenants over safety. God does not require you to surrender your body to be spiritual. That's control, not devotion. God is not served by your bodily submission. The divine is met through your embodied, autonomous presence. This body is mine, not because I'm selfish, not because I'm rebellious, not because I've lost my way, but because I survived, because I'm here, because this body, with its paralyzed diaphragm, its fertility struggles, its scars and marks and stories, is mine to claim. Tattoos, piercings, clothing, rest, adornment. These are my visible declarations. I am at home in my own skin now, and you can be too. The divine has been waiting for you to reclaim your body all along, not to surrender it, but to live in it fully, freely, sacredly. Welcome home to your body. This body temple belongs to you. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. How are you reclaiming your body? What declarations are you making? Send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. I read and respond to every message. And if you're ready to go deeper into reclaiming your spiritual freedom, take my Sacred Intimacy Snapshot at innerlightcompanion.com. It's a 5-minute quiz to help you identify where to begin your journey of reconstruction. You can also download my free guided meditation for navigating hard emotions. It's a 10-minute practice to help you reconnect with your body's wisdom when processing religious trauma. Next Tuesday, episode 4, we're going to be talking more about recognizing the abuse. We're going to be identifying freedom of association and relationship when leaving means losing everyone. Until then, keep reclaiming, keep declaring, keep coming home to your body. You're not alone in this. Thanks for listening. As you step into your day, notice which intimacy stirred for you. And then choose one small practice and let it meet you where you are. You want support? grab the free Sacred Intimacy snapshot. And when you're ready, the full Sacred Intimacy assessment that can guide your next steps. Links are in the show notes. Until next time, walk gently, listen deeply, and trust the light within.